welcome to Knights of Roleplay, an adventuring podcast. This is an actual play 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Royalty-free music provided by Kevin MacLeod, Plate Mail Games, and Tabletop Audio. And now, to adventure. Hello and welcome. I'm Chris Buckner, the primary Dungeon Master for Knights of Roleplay, and this episode we're going to have sort of an informal roundtable to get to know our players. So, why don't we start with our first question, which is, how did you meet the other members of Knights of Roleplay? So I met Sarah in 2003 or 4? 2004. Because you were a friend of a friend that I was going on a date with, and we went to see the 300.
Half-naked men.
Yes, and I met Greg, I don't know when.
I don't either, actually. It probably may have been during one of our TV and or movie nights, I think.
You just kind of
Was
came
it the
into
Holiday
our life.
Hooligan Hullabaloo?
I don't know. I mean, because for the listeners, a lot of the people that are in Knights of Roleplay are from a group that we call the movie crew, who met through a variety of different means, and we all met each other. Very original name. At different times during the movie crew. So I met Greg at some point, probably between 10 and 15 years ago, at some movie crew event. And John, I think, was basically the same thing.
Yeah,
and Kate was on deployment, and I think I met her when she came back sometime. When were you on deployment?
Oh, I was active duty through 2012, so I wouldn't have been back.
2012.
I was probably back on leave for birthday parties before that, for sure, like Sarah's big birthdays and stuff, but I wasn't back consistently until 2012.
Okay, so basically between 2004 and 2012, you were on deployment, right?
Active duty.
Active duty.
Yep.
So at some point, I must have met you at a birthday party or a dinner or something like that in there. And then 2012, you were more regular, and then we started to become friends, and eventually got married. Yay!
Yep.
Yay, marriage.
You just needed a good man.
And to be more regular.
So
Thanks, John.
So Sarah, when did you? Obviously, we just covered you and I. When did you meet Greg?
I met you while watching Naked Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chris's butt was hotter, though.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I met Greg when we were working at
Circuit City.
Circuit City together back in 2001.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I
I
think
was
2001.
department supervisor, I think, at that
And
point.
I was working a summer job in between my first couple of years of college.
Yeah.
We did lots of music-y things and psycho counts.
Psycho Counts.
Psycho
yes.
counts, yeah.
That was where she got the nickname Jazzy,
Yeah, it is.
because of her license plate on her car.
Yeah, the jazz. It was jazz singer at that time. So.
Yeah, and I thought it said jazz something else.
Yeah, tell them how it was spelled on your license plate.
JAZSNGR. We'll just say that people skipped the S after seeing the Z
Yeah.
and let them take it from there.
Yeah, the last 3 letters trip people up.
Yeah.
And how'd you meet John?
John, mutual friend, invited him on a small hiking trip with us.
But was the hiking trip the first time?
I think it was the hiking trip was the first time we met, although it's kind of no, maybe it was King Richard's Fair.
Could have been King Richard's.
Could have been King Richard's
Yeah, because I could have
Same
sworn I knew
mutual
you before
friend.
we went on that weird...
Same mutual friend, but like this random really tall dude and like a really beautifully made set of medieval garb showed up to go to the Ren Fair with us, and I was pretty smitten with how cool he was. So we've been friends ever since.
I was cool back then. Less so now.
Yeah.
It was more of being smitten with how like dapper and tall he was, but you know. And then there's Kate, that bitch.
Yep.
Kate, I've known since, I gotta do the math, 1995.
8th grade.
When we were in 8th grade. Kate moved to our town, and she was the new kid, and was Also teased on by people that were jealous of how cool we were. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason.
We were definitely too cool for them. But we became pretty fast friends, and we've been friends ever since. So
Was this before or after your goth phase?
before my goth phase.
Yeah.
Goth phase was college.
So, Greg, you already covered the two of us,
Yes.
Sarah and I. So, how'd you meet John and Kate?
I am going to say that I met John probably at one of a mutual friend events, and I think that's how pretty much that side
I
of
feel
the...
like we should just say this mutual friend's name because, like, she's the thread between us all.
She really is.
Pretty
And
much
she's
how I met
probably our
everybody
first
anyway.
listener. Other
Yes,
than our
that
parents.
would be our
So,
friend Athena, and we love Athena very much.
Athena is the common thread between us all.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is what connects the Circuit City with the non-Circuit City.
Bind us together.
The powers.
And I think Kate I also met at an event with Athena and everyone else.
Yeah, when I went to go see the 300, I was going on a date with Athena, and
Yeah.
Sarah went along with her.
And I brought my very, very good friend at the time.
What was his name?
His name was Dawn.
Don, okay. So, John, how did you meet Kate? I guess that's the only person left.
Yeah, I mean, I
Well,
I mean, you
And
could
me,
talk
yeah.
about your first
Everybody
impressions of all us weird people, but, you know.
No, you don't want me to do that.
Ouch. Awkward.
No, I met pretty much everybody through Athena. So
Okay.
Kate was at a bowling alley. We went bowling. I think it was one of your probably when you were home on one of your birthdays.
One of Sarah's birthdays.
That was one of
probably.
mine.
Or was it one of your?
Could've
I
Okay.
went through a
Mine.
huge
Somebody's.
bowling phase.
It was somebody's. So yeah, and for the rest of you is pretty much through the movie crew, and then Greg and I kind of, along with Athena, kind of got going with the anime crew, and then
We have
Sarah
really,
joined
really
in the
interesting
anime crew.
names.
Yeah, so original,
Yes,
Very
I heart the anime.
Originally.
but it works.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. And I've just kind of been a thorn in their side ever since.
So true.
It hurts so good, John.
Yeah. All right.
So, we
And
already
since
covered
all my
everybody.
questions have been indirectly answered, I mean, really, again, it's just having known Sarah for this long. She, for me, is the nexus because she became friends with Athena while I was gone in the Navy after college, and then all of these other friendships opened up through that. So, pretty cool.
I said, hey, y'all need to meet my friend Kate. Yeah.
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 I was like, damn, she's hot.
I was like, damn, you're right.
Okay, so our second question is, when did you start playing Dungeons and Dragons? If you want to start, Kate, I'll let you go first.
My first Dungeons and Dragons was started dating Chris. He talked with a bunch of our friends and said, basically was talking about playing D&D. We thought it sounded really cool. He offered to run a test game for us, and for me, that was the first time playing, and we just got hooked from there, and Chris started a campaign for us soon after.
John?
Well, I kind of did some D&D with some pseudo friends back in high school, a little bit in college. I kind of sucked at it back then, but
Back then?
I enjoyed it. Oh,
You still got to suck at it?
I still suck at it now, but I sucked at it back then too.
I say that lovingly because I suck at it
know.
more.
No, John's really bad.
Yeah. But no, this is probably my first serious Dungeons and Dragons group, which once again started with Chris introducing us with Minds of Fandelver, and then for like a couple of sessions,
Yeah.
which I later DM'd to finish up.
Right, which is the 5th edition starter kit when it first came out, yeah.
Yeah, which I had a lot of fun doing that.
Yep.
So I'll probably wonder if I can do some more one shots or something like that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love it if you guys would do, if you guys would run like one-shots or like mini campaigns where you can do something in 2 or 3 adventures, because it would give me a chance to play, and you guys could DM for some of these episodes, which would be kind of fun. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are totally welcome to do a 1 or 2 adventure thing now and then. That's totally cool.
but not all.
You don't want to hog all the glory.
I'd rather like doing the entire big campaign things, of course. I've gotten the bug now, so I'm really enjoying it. Being a DM, that is. Anything else, John?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Greg?
My experience actually started when I was in college, and it's weird. I was a freshman, and we were playing Marvel superheroes games. So
I played that too.
that was like really fun because I rolled a character that had Dark Force powers. So I accidentally ended up injuring someone I was trying to save because I rolled an incredible and my power was incredible.
Yeah.
So it had a negative consequence, which learning about the rules and how all those things worked with D&D was kind of interesting. How that beginning experience, you kind of learn, well, I kind of went too hard on that, or
You never go too hard, Greg.
everything has a consequence. Long story short,
The
so
balance.
your answers have consequences.
So this wasn't the game with the chart, was it? Where you always roll on the chart?
Yes.
It is that one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's the same one that I played.
So that was really fun.
Yeah.
And one of my friends in college actually drew the character, and he was all black and dark, and I still have it somewhere. But as far as D&D, actually that was something that I kind of came into when I was learning about magic, and which I'm not good at that game, so that's another story. And and
We have time.
I believe our DM will tell you that I kind of hounded him a lot about wanting to play D&D, and it took a while before he actually said, "Okay, we'll."
You mean after Lost Minds, or just period?
before that?
So,
all that
so this whole
happened,
thing is your fault.
I would probably take a small bit of credit.
So it's
You
there.
were probably one of the
It's
first
your
people
fault.
that pushed for it, I would think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, D&D, that would be cool.
So it may have been your encouraging that had me do the Lost Minds of Fendover,
Yeah.
Yes,
and then you
I-
guys really enjoyed it, so we kind of kept going.
yes.
Yeah. And then you and I were playing in that Star Wars campaign for a little
Yes.
while, for quite a while too, which unfortunately that group
Bendy
fell
guy,
apart.
which was really cool, playing Atticus. Was awesome.
Yeah, he got to beat up a lady lying in her sick bed. That was interesting.
Good job,
That
Greg.
doesn't sound interesting. That sounds terrible.
She was a criminal. She was doing all kinds of bad stuff. And
Was she a
lying in her bed?
criminal?
We had already beat her up once. That was the problem.
Well, she was shooting people. So
What kind
that's
of criminal
beside-
activity was happening in her bed, Greg?
I'm not even. Not even going there. Next question, please.
Okay, so Sarah, when did you start playing D&D?
I started playing D&D almost exactly 2 years ago now. My first adventure was in John's first campaign as a DM, full campaign.
Full campaign. Yeah.
For Curse of Strahd. I had dabbled in some other types of RPG games previously, but never really got the bug.
like tabletop stuff?
Yeah, I actually was a character named Jade in a Spycraft game for about 2
Oh,
months.
Spycraft, cool.
2 months before I kind of like fizzled out and got too busy, and I don't know if that group still plays, but Jade was fun. She was an assassin.
Cool. Sounds
She was
cool.
hot.
Yeah.
Know.
That explains why your first character was a rogue, probably.
Probably, although Rogue sounded like a relatively simple one to figure out for my first campaign, because I was approached to join Curse of Strahd exactly a week before it started,
Yes.
and the first game was on my birthday. So, happy birthday to me! I am now officially an Uber nerd, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like that badge, but I'd watched these guys play for quite a couple of years and had their little D&D group and been kind of jealous. So when I was asked, I was pretty happy to join in.
Yeah, we're happy
She
to have
has
you.
been a great contribution, by the way, too.
Aw, thank you.
Okay. So I started playing D&D in 1986.
Whoa.
Somebody want to do the math on that one?
Nerd.
I was 4.
And I won't say how old I was at that point in time, but I will say that it was 1986.
Older than us.
And it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons at that time. And then I remember when they came out with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, I was all excited because they were coming out with a new book, and I got to see a new book. And that was really cool. Yeah. And then over the years, I played lots of other things like like GURPS and Ars Magica and werewolf and vampire and all kinds of other things. Basically anything I could sink my teeth into. So
Vampires sinking your teeth.
not intended, but that's a good pun.
A well-placed boo would be good there.
Boo. Greg and his boo flag. Okay, so what do you love most about Dungeons and Dragons? So, Sarah, we'll start with you and we'll go around and we'll end with me. And what do you...
That's a pretty open-ended question.
It is.
That is a pretty open-ended question. In my experience watching other people play, it's role play is a very special kind of thing to everybody. Mm-hmm. I think everybody has like their own thing that they want out of role playing. And no, I'm not talking about the bedroom.
No. You sure?
Also fun.
Also fun. But for a lot of us, I think it's a way to get to be a different version of yourself. But for me, I really enjoy experimenting with the aspects that I don't see in myself. And kind of playing out that fantasy of what would it be like if I was actually kind of gregarious. Well, that's not a good example.
Relative to the rest of us.
What would it be like if I actually like ran into the fight and actually started something and stood up for the people that I care about physically instead of just like being like, hey, you guys, get off my lawn.
I'm going to stab you.
So just the idea of getting away from real life and really escaping into a character and exploring that person with your friends and in these fantasy realms is like totally cool for me.
Okay, Greg?
I'm weird.
We're all weird.
I think for me, it's something where it kind of takes you away from the everyday realm of what's going on. And it gives you the ability to escape and be something or do something different than what you would normally do on an everyday basis. You know, it's not work and it's not, you know, going to the grocery store or any of those things. It's something where you can be fantastical and magical and have powers and really just kind of do anything that you dream or, you know, anything that is kind of under the realm of impossibility. It's possible when you're role-playing. So
it feels empowering to you.
Yes, it does. And it kind of allows that, which I consider myself to have a very creative side.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes that creative side doesn't come out on an everyday basis. So when you're role-playing, you have that ability to just unleash that side of yourself. So that's how I think about it.
John, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, what do I like best about D&D?
Okay, Kate, you have any thoughts? Go ahead,
Well,
John.
you don't want me to pontificate?
You can pontificate.
No, go ahead,
for it.
Yeah.
Just trolling you, troll.
Pontification.
Probably primarily the social aspect. You know, just being able to get together and hang out with my friends for a little while. And yeah, just being able to, you know, troll my friends as a completely different person is a lot of fun to me.
Did you just say troll?
Yes. I mean, a lot of what Greg and Sarah have said applies to me as well.
Sure.
But, you know, just I'd say mostly the social aspect.
Okay,
So
that's cool. All right, Kate?
Yeah, I mean,
Anything else to add?
just to further enhance the point that the others have already made, I think it's just, I view it as an even higher form of escapism because not only it's not just like reading a book or watching a movie or a cartoon or something, but you know you're developing this character and you're building this story, and hopefully with a group of friends that you really like, which I think that we have here, and I feel
No.
pretty lucky to have.
You're all right.
So that's a lot of fun for me. And then again, I think to some extent it's also Chris's and John's style when we run big campaigns that, you know, they actually take backstories of all of our characters and pull them into that story that we continue to build, which makes it even more engaging. So it's a lot of fun.
I think too. Also, there's a lot of emotional investment
Oh, yeah.
in that.
Oh, definitely.
We've had a lot of
had some
tears at the
really
table,
heavy
some
discussions.
feels.
I'm not crying. My eyelids are sweating.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually like a lot of the problem-solving aspects. Of
I do
the game
too.
as well.
Yeah.
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 Just how creative can we be to get out of this situation? Can we just fight our way out?
Can we break the
avoid
dungeon
fighting our
master's
way out?
plan?
Yeah.
It definitely introduces you to a lot of different aspects of your friends that you didn't necessarily recognize outside of the game table sometimes too.
It's definitely a unique environment for seeing people's personality.
For
come
sure.
out.
But to expand on Kate, it's really wonderful to not just imagine yourself as a person, but like speak at that as that person and adventure as that person, and really get into how would this character react if she was faced by a beholder that speaks like a Bostonian.
Yeah.
Paki sounds at the bar.
What about you?
Well, I mean, everything that you guys have said about playing a character and the escapism is all true. I've done a little bit of acting and I have some fun with that. So exploring characters from that point of view, being an actor is also very fun. One thing that I like about it that has a lot of crossover with Magic the Gathering and many other things that I've found in life that make things enjoyable for people in general, whether they realize it or not, is the idea that it is a form of self-expression. It's a way you can like customize things. Like when you have your character, everything that you build into the character is some part of your personality, something cool that you like, and it's that self-expressionism that is really important when it comes to your character and like your magic deck or anything you do in your life. And I love the fact that you get to specialize and customize things and do everything just the way that you want to do it, and it brings out your personality and everything that you make.
Are you saying there's a part of me that's curmudgeonly?
No, not at all.
Next question.
Well, I think you bring in a really good point. Like, for instance, I pick on Kate a lot because she never, like, just picks one class. Mm-hmm. She has to, like, multi-class and everything, and she's very complex.
She adds extra layers onto things.
And I like doing extra things.
And part of that layering is part of who you are, and it's what makes you such a beautiful person. So, I think we all... have, Greg's characters tend to be a little stoic, but very creative and different.
And smashy.
Yeah, and
smashy.
John's are wild, crazy, and unpredictable.
Even outside the role play, right? There's a creativity to building up the whole game and the miniatures. So we have John who does the printing, and I get to do painting and assembly, which is a craft thing that I enjoy doing. So there's just a lot of creative
and I
processes
just take advantage of them.
Add to the whole. You said you wanted to paint your mini.
I'm just kidding.
I tell them to bring their criticals, actually.
I do.
You get to do the photography for everything we're doing here.
Yeah, Sarah's our photographer.
Yep.
Okay, so don't smack your lips, Chris. Okay. Sorry, David. That's my VO coach if you're listening. What are your most memorable campaign moments? So you want to start with John?
Yeah, let's start with John this time.
Okay.
Most memorable. There have been quite a few, but one I think
Yes, there have.
Moments
I
of
think
making
The
trouble.
moments that have made the verb Johning a real word.
Yeah, Ratchet had a lot of really interesting times. But
I could expand on that for you particularly. Like, what are your favorite moments as a character? And what were your favorite moments as a DM?
I mean, as a character, I still get a chuckle out of the time I just took Grisella out with a rock. We all do.
Yeah, that's true.
It was
Sarah wasn't there for that, but she's heard
I've
the
heard
stories.
all about it.
yeah. And I just really enjoyed Ratchet. Ratchet was just a lot of fun. He was just I could be crazy and goofy with him, and everybody minded, and I found that hilarious.
Cool.
But,
How about being a DM?
As being a DM, probably the time I almost threw Sarah off a mountain with a giant.
Yeah. The goat. Watch out for the goat. Watch out for the goat.
That's when I saved your life. I was trying to remember what that moment was.
Oh, that haunted me for weeks. I've forgotten all about it. Thanks, John.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for Curse of Strahd for people that want to play it, but let's just say there was a time when Sarah's rogue, what was it, Sapphire? Sapphire, yeah, basically almost fell off the...
To her death.
To her death off a sheer cliff because she got hit with a goat.
And I've never seen I've never seen Sarah more scared of anything in the campaign than falling because of that goat.
Gothic horror campaign, and the goat was the scariest thing that happened to me.
The goat and the bridge fight. Ugh.
Well, the bridge fight didn't scare me because I was the spider rogue at that point.
Yeah.
See, it's kind of telling that in John's campaign, something very unexpected was scary. It was unexpected, John. Good job.
Okay.
Wow.
Did you have anything else to add, or you good? Okay. Greg, most memorable campaign moments?
I have a couple. One of them is that my party friends here never ever believe that I am right about something. And I say it over and over. I'm like, I really don't trust this person. I don't think they're a good person. And then it turns out that I am actually 100%
Always right.
Yeah.
Again, this is Curse of Strahd we're talking about.
Yeah. So trust the person who fights the most, because usually they are right. And I would probably say also that we've had a lot of good role-playing times, and I did write this on my bio thing on the page, where we just pretty much role play for hours and didn't really fight or do anything else. And it came down to a situation where we were trying to figure out how to resolve an issue. There was kind of conscience involved in the situation. So, there were the table was divided in two. People on the other side of the table had an opinion. People on the right side of the table had an opinion. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to hash that out between us, and then ultimately,
Chris's opinion always wins.
No, I was just sitting there listening.
I'm just kidding.
I was sitting there for 3 hours, just kind of absorbing the
JK, LOL.
the information. You're fine, Greg.
he was just sitting there. He had nothing to add to. So it was like it was fun because everyone was really emotionally invested in it, and you could feel that they were playing their characters and reacting how their characters would react. And I think that's a lot of what I like about when you get something that's really juicy, that you just feel like you can't let it go, or you can't let one side not hear your viewpoint about it.
If I'm remembering correctly, it was in the Innistrad game, which was based on Magic the Gathering's World of Innistrad, and your character was a cleric.
My character was actually a rogue in that one. That was lucky.
But didn't you have some belief in Avacyn, in the religion of Avacyn? Because I think part of what happened was people found out where Avacyn came from. And then that was very controversial, and so everybody talked about Avacyn, who was the head of this religion, and how where she came from was very kind of disturbing.
Yeah, that was.
And I thought that your character had this belief in Avacyn or something, and when you found out where she came from,
that was Brian, actually.
Oh, that was Brian. Okay, all right. So, but it did have something to do with that.
Yeah,
that
same
was
seat, wrong person.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. And my character, his dad was a werewolf, and he had. Saw his family get killed by him, so he was very, very, very rage-driven. So that was what was coming out.
Rage.
In that particular campaign. So that was a lot of fun, actually.
I was thinking about a different moment when we all got divided, but I mean that was because I've only been involved in one full campaign.
Yeah. Well, what was your moment, Sarah?
Well, I'm just in talking about Greg and the fact that role-playing can get really divided. It was in Curse of Strahd. We were all like, half of the table wanted to go to one city and half the table wanted to go to the other
whether
city.
or not to abandon Irina.
And there's more than one way to skin a cat, and we talked about it for a long time, but it was heated, and that's quite fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I've never seen anybody within the groups that I've played with here at the house with the home group, because we have had, for the listeners, we've had a couple other people that have come and gone through the years, but I've never really seen anybody get to the point where I have seen over the course of my entire career where people are like, yelling and screaming at each other.
No one's had fisticuffs.
No, I mean, I think that being committed to your character is good, but I really don't think you have to be yelling and screaming and fighting and arguing. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, that was just my character," but you're kind of like,
my character.
you're kind of like, no, I think you were really pissed.
Get so
I think you were really angry.
Yeah,
I think
don't
maybe
thi-
you got too invested.
Can't
A
go
little
too
bit,
far.
a little bit,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen it happen in this group. But
Yep.
but that's great.
I think
but-
a lot of us are respectful of each other, so
Definitely.
it would never get to that point. I don't think ever.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, people hear what everyone has to say about something, and kind of can come to a resolution without nastiness.
Well, it's one of the great things I like about playing with you guys in particular. Like, we're good at doing things like, if Greg hasn't piped up in a while, we'll be like, well, what do you think?
Yeah, try to
This
keep
is true.
people engaged.
Try to keep
Yep.
people engaged.
Yep.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, I've seen there was a group that I was in where this particular
Excuse me.
player was so not good at role playing, and the DM would try to do exactly that. He would try to get him to say things, and at one point he got so frustrated he had the character like hitting the guy over the head and attacking him and doing all these things. He just wouldn't role play, and at that point I was like, okay, maybe we can just let him not role play as much.
Yeah.
Because the DM was getting very angry at him for not role playing. It's like just let him do his thing.
Sometimes you just have to let people find their own stride.
Yeah, it's fine.
Or Strahd.
Or Strahd. No. Find their own. No, I hope we don't find our own Strahd. That could be problematic.
Did you have other things, Sarah, that you remember from your time?
Memorable moments?
Memorable moments for you, yeah.
Well, besides the first time I played and I got the bug and was like jonesing for the next one, like the whole next 14 days, I was like, when's D&D? When's D&D? When's D&D? You can ask my coworkers. I was a freaking weirdo. There were a couple of moments in John's campaign that we like really got into the role play. There was one in particular between John and I. I can't remember what character you were at the time.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Playing with his role playing with off of
Role playing with one of the
NPCs.
NPCs.
Yeah.
Would
What-
this be in
what
the
happened?
maybe in the follow-up campaign?
It might have been the follow-up campaign, but there was
been
one
a
when you
few
were
points.
NPCing for Irina, and we had gotten into a really long discussion about hope and the fact that Barovia, not to spoil too much, was not a totally hopeless place, and that she should hold on.
Oh yeah,
And
That's
like
right.
I was at the point where that particular role play with John was like really like touching to me, and yes, my eyelids started sweating, and I'm an emotionally invested person, so like
I understand.
if I get to the point where I'm like crying or I'm hysterically falling over and snorting, I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
And it, my most memorable moments in D&D is when I get to those points without even having to try.
Yeah.
And it's not about the side conversation at that point. It's about the actual investment in the story.
It's the same thing with acting. Like when you don't have to try.
Yeah.
That's when you know you got it.
It's like magic, right?
Yeah.
It's great. I also very memorably remember the moment when my character Sapphire and Greg's character Darius really started like formulating their little love affair, which we never like discussed, and it was never implicitly mentioned in the campaign, but it became very obvious that those characters were just like meant to be together.
Plus, they were outsiders and they didn't belong where
Yeah.
they were, and
They were totally out of their element, and she had never had anybody that she could trust. So, like, the fact that she had this big old barbarian that was, like, wanting to protect her was pretty darn cool. And
Cool.
that was pretty awesome.
Awesome.
There was another part, I think, remember, you almost lost it when we were wrapping up Kate's character
Oh, yes.
story when she got to meet her dead brother.
Oh, yes. I was bawling like a baby. John's a better storyteller than he lets himself believe. And
No, I suck.
No, you don't.
exactly. Point made.
Yeah.
And there were some really special moments.
Yeah, you did a good job. Give yourself credit, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
and likewise when you have my god appear out of nowhere.
Oh gosh,
That was
awesome.
when I was very battling being two different people.
Oh, I was sweating bullets on that one. I'm telling you.
Because, like, it literally, I was speechless, and you can ask anyone at this table. I had nothing to say.
Yeah, this was an incident during the custom campaign I wrote following Curse of Strahd, where basically Greg's character was having a crisis of faith. So I basically set up this duel with an agent of his god, well, to try to bring him back and restore his faith and all that fun stuff. And it was a fun fight.
Yeah.
That was good. We did.
You haven't talked about your favorite moments.
I haven't done mine yet.
or her.
Okay, so
up
it's
to
you
you.
and I left.
Yeah, I guess I'll pick up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I guess tailing on stuff from John's campaign with Curse of Strahd, there were a couple. I mentioned one on the site, which was that my character's backstory had her losing her brother into what ultimately realized it was Barovia because it was the same circumstances several years prior. So the first way that the party encountered her brother, again, without going too far into spoilers, was very unexpected. So that was pretty jarring and then cool, ultimately going through that role play and that
be able
fight.
to follow through on that.
Yes, and then and I had completely forgotten about it, other than the fact that this memory of like, when did I save Sarah's character Sapphire's life? I remembered her thanking me for it, and it just came up again in the conversation, which was that very unexpectedly that we'd had one fight where I kind of broke the DM's encounter because I did something to scare away a monster, and he gave me inspiration for being creative, and ultimately that's what saved it, because when she was about to fall
Which was
off of
like
a cliff
10 minutes
that
later.
we had no idea how tall it was. We all thought she was going to die. My character was able to use that inspiration to catch her before she fell. So
Yeah,
I
had a little house
pretty
rule that
neat.
let people burn inspiration to do funky
Rule
things.
of cool.
rule of cool. Yeah, and then
She did a lot of Legolas
Yeah.
shit with the rule of
yeah,
cool.
my
Or no, yours
my
was
ranger. Yeah, Aragorn shit.
Aragorn
that
shit.
too.
I did
yeah.
the Legolas shit.
Yeah, and then going back to Points of Light, which was our first campaign with Chris as GM, there were certainly some very gripping moments in the story. I think the first one that I can think of was we were fighting the vampire Koss, and we hadn't realized it from the start, but Koss was following people around with his legendary actions and was ultimately going to pick one person to try to kill. And my character used Shocking Grasp as a reaction and actually broke him from moving around for a turn, but it then caused him to concentrate on her. And she was not the most tanky one in the party at that point, so it was just very interesting and intense to be playing this battle where you realize that all of a sudden, like, all the joking at the table had stopped. Everybody was very quiet, everybody was very intent, and you just got the sense at that point in time of how invested everybody was in the characters and the game. Probably the first time it had gotten that intense in that campaign. And then, following to the end of that campaign, we fought the god Vecna, and my character was using artifacts that helped to kill him. But again, she drew the aggro. Because of that, she got disintegrated 2/3 of the way through the fight. So there is no way to fix that in the middle of a fight.
Only character Chris has ever killed.
So Chris killed his girlfriend at the time in a way that she couldn't be brought back immediately. And for me, I had to sit there and watch the rest of the party in this kind of nail biter battle, trying to finish the fight against a god.
Riel did it.
And it was awesome, and we did, and we succeeded, and it was great. But I just remember, like, even the next day waking up and yeah, my eyes got wet. I must have gotten something in my eyes, because the emotional release from being that invested in the characters and the story, maybe over the top to some, but for us, it seems like our group really enjoys it. So it's pretty cool to get that level of investment.
Right. But don't forget the fact that your character, if your character hadn't done what she had done, Vecna would not have been able to have been killed.
I don't forget that at all. It's just, again, the emotional investment.
She was what allowed them to actually kill Vecna.
That was the high point in my mind. Was
Kate
the
is
emotional investment.
if not emotionally invested in the game.
It's just part of what makes it fun for me.
Yeah.
You should talk.
Well, yeah, obviously I'm the one, bawling out like a baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, honey?
No, I think that's it for me.
Okay. For the listeners, again, some of this has been repeated on the website, but that's okay because we want to have it in multiple places. the things that I said were my most memorable campaign moments was I had a character. I've always liked psionics. I know a lot of people do not like psionics, at least in the history of D&D, people that I know, but I've always been a huge fan of psionics. And I had a character that was a psionic character class, and he was able to split himself into 2 halves.
Whoa.
And he did this secretly, so nobody knew that was what was happening. And then the big boss in the boss fight, I think actually he was disintegrated also. He was disintegrated, and then on the next round, my character, his name was Armus, he came running into the room on the next round after he had just been disintegrated in the previous round, and people didn't understand what was happening. and me and the DM were just loving that. That was really fun. And then also in the Points of Light campaign that I ran for 2 different groups, including this one, there was a fight with a brain in a jar.
Brain in a jar. Poor bee.
Which
Poor
of course,
me, I'm the one who got knocked out.
it uses psychic powers, so I was excited about it. And it was on a shelf in a jar, and it was kicking the crap out of the party. It was throwing them all around the room. It was dominating the fighters, so they would fight on its behalf. And in both,
DM. Yes.
yeah, I kept yelling out either "brain in a jar" or "Team DM."
We had 2 points in that campaign when Chris had a brain control type bad guy who took over
brain
our
and a hand.
our lead fighter, who wasn't me, and then I was the one who got knocked unconscious by our own fighter. It was great.
Yes. When the fighter was being controlled, it usually turned on Kate.
Yes.
That person usually turned on Kate.
So you're saying that John isn't the only master of chaos in this room?
I don't see how you could think that about me based on anything that I've said.
He says with his charismatic grin.
It's true. I am BSing right now, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I can smell it.
Let's see. What hobbies? Yeah, we got everybody on that question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What hobbies do you have other than Dungeons and Dragons?
Boy.
I'm going to start with this one. I do Spider-Man cosplay for children's charities. I play Magic the Gathering. I'm a moderately skilled drummer. I've done a little bit of voice and on-screen acting, and I've been in martial arts for a long time. I have a 5th degree black belt and Kempo and Jiu-Jitsu system. And I think that covers most of the things that I'm into. Kate, do you want to talk about some of your other hobbies?
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot.
You seem unsure.
There's a lot. I'm a person who likes to keep a full plate, and I have many interests. So, I mean, on the
Some might
sports
say
side,
an over full plate.
or too many. Yeah, that's fair.
Kate
But
never overflows.
it's always been that way. So, I mean, currently sports, I play volleyball. I've dabbled a little bit in the Kempo and Jiu-Jitsu because of
Yes.
Chris.
Yeah, you came to class, yeah.
And like swimming and track and field, I do heavyweight throwing events. So when we joke about Kate Smash, it's because I'm not a small person and I throw 100-pound weights for distance sometimes.
Yes, she
and
does.
I then unintentionally break things around the house or knock things over on the D&D table. Yeah, that's my thing. And then
Shearing metal pipes in two. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's another side to that, which is that Sarah and I have done music together for a long time. So
Yes, we
I
have.
sing. I don't really do the instruments as much, but yeah. And then
We go way back to
yeah.
McKelvey rhythm.
Yep. And then let's see here. I am a crazy cat lady. I have 3 awesome cats who Chris came into this household with.
Well, actually, Lily wasn't here.
She wasn't there when we first started
wasn't here,
dating,
yeah.
but within a couple months of it, she was. So yeah,
Yeah,
we have
it's-
3 cats.
It's possible you might hear the cats during the
They'll
podcast.
probably make appearances at some point during the podcast.
Especially Bugatti.
Especially Bugatti. He's my talker from Japan. I was in the Navy for 8 years. I mentioned that on the website. So I've done a lot of travel and collected and seen a lot of interesting things. And then arts and crafts is something that I probably don't get as much time to do as I should take for it because it's good for me. But I enjoy pretty much anything from sewing to painting, drawing, coloring. And so my current outlet with that is that I'm the resident painter for a lot of our D&D minis and sometimes a bad guy or big boss for the Dungeon Master. And I have a lot of fun doing that. So
I actually
that's
remember
it
you
for me.
being a
Yeah.
really amazing artist,
Yeah.
even as far back as 8th grade,
Yeah.
and being just enamored with
Oh.
her ability to draw, and not only that, but your set of markers that you had in your bedroom.
Yes, and I have that big set of colored pencils still too. So it's a fun outlet when I have time to do it. So yeah.
John?
I am pretty much the polar opposite of all of that.
It's not true.
I don't like to keep a full schedule. I tend
that's
to
true.
be much more lackadaisical and just kind of take things as they come. So most of my hobbies are just things that I like to do around the house, like my 3D printing, which tends to be a huge time sink.
Huge.
Yeah, well.
I think that's an understatement,
A
sweetie.
little bit, yeah. It's hard to get them just right.
But it's great though because John does print a lot of our minis, which is awesome.
And so, video gaming and just things of that nature.
Okay.
I do enjoy getting out into nature whenever I have the opportunity, which has been less lately, and I'm a little bit bummed about that. But
Aren't you an Eagle Scout?
yeah, I am. But that was a lifetime ago.
That's still something worth.
That's still
worth
something worth mentioning.
though. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, this could be hobbies over your entire
He's an
lifetime.
avid underplayer of his skills and personality.
I just, like I said, I call it as I see it. You may not agree. I don't know.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm just picking on you.
Yeah, I know. You do that. That's one of your hobbies.
Well, someone has to troll the troller.
Trollolol.
And, going at Ren fairs and things like that, of course,
Yep.
whenever I get the opportunity and stuff.
Okay.
That's just me.
It's fun.
I'm a very go with the flow kind of person. What can I say?
All right, cool. Greg, got some hobbies you want to talk about?
Well, a couple of things. I'm a writer, so I learned how to do that when I was a teenager. So I got the special gift of being able to go to a creative youth camp for teens, and I was the only one to go from my school with a scholarship. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And during that time, I actually learned how to write poetry. So I'm a poet in addition to being a writer.
I didn't know it.
Aw.
I'm kidding, I did.
I also kind of dabble a little bit in art. I wouldn't say that I'm great at it, but I like to try watercolor painting. I have some opaque paints that I want to try to learn how to do that. Of course, anime, which most of us, with the exception of our DM, watch anime. I am very technology driven. So if there's something new, I probably know about it. So
Latest iPhone, always in his pocket.
yes.
Yeah, always sending us texts. Look at this new thing.
So I would consider myself a technophile, so I do freely admit that. So you can't really see my hand gestures, but that's what I'm
You have
doing.
sex with
right.
computers?
No, that's something
sorry.
totally
That's
different.
something different.
Ooh, I'm going to blue flag you on that one.
Hey, you guys are making bad jokes. I can make some too.
So new technology. I love space. And if I had a telescope, I would probably look at it and see all the planets and stuff. So those are my things.
Greg in
Cool.
space.
Saraha.
Sarah.
We already talked about you're very musical. A singer. You and Kate are both singers. That's awesome.
Yeah, we are both singers. I've actually been musical, like, from birth. My mother's favorite story to tell me about when I was a little girl was when I was, like, 4 years old. I would stand out in front of church afterwards in my little patent leather shoes and my little puffy socks and swing my little fluffy dress and sing for everybody. So performing was definitely something that I was gifted with from a young age. I actually spent probably about 15 years as the main singer for a big band based out of New Hampshire, which was probably one of my favorite experiences in my entire life.
That's one that I
musically-wise.
that I saw you.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
used to come watch us perform at our monthly gigs. And singing brings me a lot of joy. Music in general brings me a lot of joy. I think more people need more music in their lives. It's a really great way to get in touch with your inner emotions. But,
Okay.
you know, I don't have to try very hard because I'm already like emotional.
And that's why Sarah's voice is the one that really projects.
Yes, they keep telling me I need to be turned down on the mics.
Yeah, on the mixer, she has the lowest setting on the mixer.
But when she starts singing jazz, she really projects, and it's really quite nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
But beyond music, which was not only a hobby but was a profession of mine for a long time, I'm also very much into arts and crafts. I've always been very artistic. Would much rather be out in the world experiencing it than in a schoolroom, which my teacher would probably very gladly share with you. I recently took up and started my own photography business because I love capturing moments and people, and
The name of which is?
Alternative Angles Photography.
There you go.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You do a lot of cosplay photography.
I
right?
do. I do a lot of cosplay, and I do a lot of animals.
Yep.
So, but my sister-in-law actually is also a cosplayer, and she very much got me ingrained into the cosplay community and really introduced me to a lot of the people that I use as models and subjects. It's just an amazing world, which kind of plays hand in hand with RPG, where you get this fantastical idea of who you could be. Cosplay is just amazing. I have so much respect for the people that do it, and I love so much of capturing it for people.
Yeah.
Especially because those particular models have put so much heart and soul into what they're doing. And they don't typically cosplay a character unless they're very invested in that character. So it really makes the experience from the other end of the camera amazing, too. Chris, however, has not let me photograph him as Spider-Man. Just putting that out there.
Not yet. We will. We will.
We will. Other than that, I'm also a crazy cat lady of my whole life. I've recently become a crazy chicken lady.
Chicken lady.
Chicken lady. My husband and I live kind of out in the boonies. We have a nice little 3.5 acre farm. So we have like 21 animals, if you include the chickens and ducks and dogs and cats. And it's quite a chaotic home lifestyle, but it's very rewarding. I
With lots of
definitely.
eggs.
Yes, lots of eggs.
Yay,
We have
eggs.
lots of protein in our house. And I definitely highly recommend raising chickens for anybody thinking about it. Feel free to message me if you want the chicken lowdown. I will talk your ear off.
All right. And so you're at some point you're going to be doing our Instagram. That's going to be something you're going to sort of.
Yes,
Work
I
on
will be
one.
representing the Knights of Roleplay on the gram.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yo.
All right. So we have some more questions here that really are not specifically D&D stuff. They're a little more for fun outside of D&D. So let's see, Kate. What did you want to be when you grew up?
That has changed a few times.
Yeah.
When
What were
I
some of the things that you
was
wanted?
in-
Let's start with like when you were a little kid.
when I was a little kid in grade school, there were a lot of years where I thought I wanted to be the first female president of the United States.
Could still
'Cause
happen.
That's yeah. I know.
That's true.
Until I got older and realized what
Kate the Great
politics
for
is
president.
like. So yeah.
2024.
And then I mean, I think I set in on wanting to do engineering. Midway through high school, I had a really good chemistry teacher in high school who inspired that to some extent.
What's a seed, jelly bean?
Yes, Mr. Trapatsis, he was awesome. And then, so at the end of school, I had planned for college, and it ended up that I was looking at the Navy ROTC scholarship path because I wanted to have a good way to pay for the school that I wanted to go to, and I thought that serving would be beneficial. That's always been something I felt strongly about. So, I mean, I went through college and did the Navy officer thing for several years. But I mean, in the back of my mind, it was always more the aero and potentially the space side of engineering that I wanted to get back towards at some point. So I came off of active duty a few years ago, and I've been doing kind of that line of work with defense work with my current company, and I'll see how things develop from there if I shift more towards space or other things. Yeah.
Wasn't your thesis for your master's something to do with space technology?
Yeah, I did a master's degree a couple of years ago while I was working, and the thesis, I took the opportunity to focus on radiation protection for manned missions deeper in space, like to Mars, for example. That's the current thing.
Cool,
so I did a
I know that
180-page thesis.
I married that girl.
I did an IEEE conference paper and presented at a conference about that. So, I mean, again, it was kind of, it's on the side of my full-time work for now, but I'll have to see what opportunities open up, because I'm very tied to my friends and family in New Hampshire, so we'll have to see how I can develop those interests while still staying in a location that's important to me.
Roots.
So,
My wife is wicked smart.
It's a good thing one of you is.
Hey-oh!
You want some cream for that burn?
Sarah's character's going to die. John, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I always thought I had a pretty good head for math and sciences.
No.
So, no, you don't think so? Oh.
Sorry.
The house is rough.
So for when I first was getting into college, I actually started off as a physics major because I actually wanted to get into quantum physics, and things of that nature have always really fascinated me. But then I found out I had to go through standard physics, and that sucked, and to get to there. And in the end, I don't know if it was just the classes or if it was me, but I really just couldn't get my head around those standard physics equations. So in the end, I ended up in computer science for a while, and from there migrated to information technology because that's where the money was.
He's the IT guy.
Yeah, I'm the computer guy.
John is also our computer guy. And our 3D printer. And when we need people who are tall.
Yeah,
For hanging things.
like blankets
reaching
for
the sugar.
soundproofing.
Is there anything else, John?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm the shortest person in this room.
You are. How tall are you?
5'5".
5'5", and John's 6'3".
6'3", yeah.
All right. Sarah, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
This is probably going to be really shocking to you all. And by shocking, I mean not at all.
Yeah.
When I was 7 years old, I told my mother I wanted to be an opera singer when I grew up.
Oh, cool.
An opera
Shocking.
singer. Shocking. That didn't really change all that much, actually, getting older. All through high school, I was very music focused. I think my senior year of high school, I was in like 5 music classes and like 2 regular classes.
Can you give us an aria?
No. Not on the spot. I'm not as young as I used to be. But I'm also a saxophone player amongst various other instruments. And I went to college to be a music educator, but like my junior year of college, we started student observations, and I realized I really hated kids. Well, that's not true. I don't hate kids, but I realized that I didn't necessarily want to teach music. And so I kind of shifted focus from there. I've dabbled in a lot of jobs, but my ultimate career goal is to be a photographer full time and
Cool.
help people realize the beauty of themselves,
Awesome.
Especially when they're all dressed up.
especially when they're all dressed up. Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
opera singer.
All right. Greg, what did you want to be when you were a kid, man? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I'm never gonna grow up.
You know,
Yeah, I know. I thought
am
about that when I wrote the
actually-
question.
I'm actually still trying to figure that out.
Yeah?
I haven't really found what it is that I wanted to do.
But was there something when you were a kid, though? When you were like 10 years old, were you like,
I
man, I really want to be
actually
this someday?
didn't have that thought, to
No?
be
It's
honest with
Really?
you.
You're never
Okay.
too old to decide what you want to be when you grow up.
I had thought that I wanted to work in television, so I kind of took
could
those
see that.
steps when
Television, how? Like production or?
Well, a little of both. I was looking at, when I was in Connecticut, that's where I came from, of being a art director for television. So that's
Okay.
someone
That's
that
cool.
does television graphics, art direction, that kind of thing. And
I
when
didn't know this about Greg. I've known him for
I
like
didn't
15
know
years, and
either.
I had no idea.
And when I went to college, I actually went to a small college up in New Hampshire, and that particular college didn't have those type of programs. So for whatever reason, and this I still do not know because it happened by chance, I had wanted to live up here, but didn't know why. And then there's an opportunity that kind of came up.
Yeah.
And I came to a school up here, and it was a small school.
The fates aligned.
And when I went to that school, I had taken lots of communications courses, and I actually had enough courses that I was minored in theology and English. So I had enough courses to do that. So I suppose I could have been a minister or something like that.
I could see you being a minister.
Feed into your writing hobby.
Yeah.
But some people I knew told me that I would be a great teacher, so I went that direction. And like
I remember taking you to like your praxis exams.
and just like
Your praxis
Sarah, I
exams.
discovered when I was working with kids that I did not have the kind of same focus and attention that you need to be a teacher.
Yeah, it's not so much that you like hate the kids. It's like
No.
you realize that you're not passionate enough about it to
And-
like wake up every morning and want to go do it.
Yeah,
It's a really emotionally
And two-
chaotic
It is.
environment.
Yeah, I have
to
so
be
much
in.
respect for
Yeah,
teachers. It's so
yeah.
And
hard.
two, you have to have so many different hats. Like, you have to pay attention to not only the person you're dealing with, but you also pay attention to the 30 other kids in class and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
And
these days, you have to notice everything that could be going on behind the scenes too.
I just didn't have the capacity to do that,
Sure,
you know.
sure.
So I ended up going for my master's degree to school to be a school counselor, and that particular circumstance, unfortunately, the school closed that program, so I didn't end up finishing it. But I would be Dr. Holly at this point because I would have my doctorate in psychology.
Dr. Holly.
You almost surpassed Kate in education level.
Yeah.
Well, I like to learn. That's my thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean,
y'all have surpassed
But
me.
if I were
so.
to, if I were,
I've only got a bachelor's.
I don't even have that.
if I were to choose a career, I would probably say be an astronomer because I really do love space.
Space.
That's our next question, Greg. Way to jump the gun.
Well, no, since,
No, that's
You haven't
not
answered that
that's not
question.
jumping the gun. That's
I know, I
a
know.
segue. You see?
But I have an answer.
No, you roll on. a
Therefore, I
segue.
can't segue that.
Oh, crud.
Okay. So
What did you
when
want to be? When
I
you
wanted
grew
to be an
up?
architect because
architect?
because I watched the Brady Bunch.
Oh my god!
See, that's funny because
Here's the
both of my parents
story.
are actually architects.
Of a Chris named Brady.
I thought Mr. Brady was cool, and I wanted to be an architect. And I also wanted to be an archaeologist because I really like dinosaurs, and because
So you were just going down in alphabetical order at that time?
sort of. I also wanted to be an actor because I grew up with E.T. and Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that sort of thing.
At least he didn't start off wanting to be an aardvark.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually have pursued acting a little bit recently. I am doing some voiceover, and I've done a little bit of on-camera stuff. We'll see if the on-camera stuff goes anywhere. The voiceover stuff I plan on making a career out of. The acting stuff, if it works out, great. But the casting agency that I was a part of called me up and had me do a audition, which got me a small part in a television show, which I'm excited about. So once that comes out, I can put it on my resume, and I'll keep pursuing that. I'm going to try to set up a place at home where I can do self-tape auditions, so it can be easy for me to just like do it in the living room and then send it out. And if that's kind of the path that people sometimes take to get there, well, I can handle that. Because Kate and I we're trying to have our first child together, and me moving off somewhere and trying to be an actor is not really in the cards. But still,
Spoiler
I do
alert for the
enjoy.
listeners.
Yeah, spoiler alert. You might hear a baby screaming in a year from now or something.
No, it's just
They'd
going to
be
be our,
working
it's
on
just
it,
gonna be our
man.
fifth player.
I suppose
Eventually, yeah.
this is our NPC.
NPC.
Get her in
Our
a
mute NPC.
big stuffed dice, and whenever he throws it,
Or she.
generic he, whatever it lands on, that
They.
you look it up on a table, and that suddenly that's what happens to our party or something.
It could be. Or we could just put the baby in the DM chair and see what happens. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be interesting.
The monster says,
So our next question was dream job, and what did you say that yours was, Greg?
I said that I would love to be an astronomer and discover
astronomer.
space and science things and find a new planet and have it named for me. So
Does that relate to your dream job, Kate? Because you want to
Greg.
be in space stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is that your dream job, though?
I
She
mean,
wants to go there. He
There
wants to
were
study.
points,
true.
certainly points when I considered the idea of wanting to be an astronaut or a space traveler as
Okay.
a dream job, but I think
space
that,
cowboy.
right? Yeah,
Space
but I
cadet.
think that perspective has kind of, thanks, hubby, has kind of shifted a little bit. And I mean, I think, again, I'm very tied to where I'm at. But if I ever got the opportunity working in New Hampshire to work on the design of space systems, in particular space systems that would support manned missions deeper
Sure.
into space, that would be amazing.
Okay. John, do you have a dream job? What you like to do more than anything else?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of beyond the point where I'm looking for a dream job as far as a specific thing, and more looking for a job where I just don't have to work.
Yeah, just like everybody else.
How
Yeah.
does this not surprise me?
My dream job is
I don't
is
have
filthy
an
rich.
aspiration except to not have to do anything but what I like to do.
Sarah, do you have a dream job? Is it photography? Is that what it is?
Photography is definitely my dream career.
Okay.
I would say I already have my dream job, which is being, a wife and a mom to a bunch of crazy animals, and maybe someday a kid. I don't know, we'll see. But also to have the job of being a good friend and having a great group of friends around me.
Aw.
heartwarming orphans.
Yes.
Tear.
Okay.
I'm corny. I can't help
Oh,
it.
that's okay.
I would go back and say that I too, in my youth, had the idea of being an architect because
Okay.
the Brady Bunch connection.
Yeah.
So that ended when I went to high school and found out that no, you cannot be an architect just by going to a semester of technical school.
Oh,
So it's like, oh, okay, no architect.
I don't want it that bad. No.
Yeah, I eventually there was so much math, and I was good at math, but I didn't want to go quite that far.
Yeah.
I was like, nah.
I once had a very short dream of being a dentist until I realized how much school I would have to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had, I think the last count I've had like 35 jobs
Wow.
or something like that. Yeah, I tried to put it in a Google Doc along with I like to make a list of like how many D&D characters that I've had.
And
like
he ran
lists?
out of room.
What,
I
Chris
do.
List? No.
No, and I think I had like 35 jobs up to this point.
Wow.
Although if I count voiceover now, that's probably 36. But anyway,
And not 37.
In a row?
Chris is not a man to be tied down.
Except to Kate
it's true.
and her boobies.
No, I just like I was wicked antisocial in high school, and I dropped out. Well, technically, I transferred into this program that lets you get your high school diploma by going to night school. And then I was so sick of school because I basically grew up in the movie The Breakfast Club. That was my high school, and it sucked. And I didn't want to be around anybody. I was very introverted, and so I didn't want to go to college. And then I just worked job after job after job with those skills. I went back to college, got a degree, and part of my schooling was in theater. And then I came out and I had a bunch more jobs. And now I'm at the point where I'm trying to focus a little bit more on performance of some kind or another. So I just didn't have a lot of direction when I was younger. And I just kept going from job to job to job. So I got a lot of them.
You're a drifter.
I was sort of a drifter. Stayed in southern New Hampshire, which is where our podcast is based for our listeners.
I guess I haven't figured that out.
With one outsider from mid-northern New Hampshire. Boobies.
So we've already talked about this a little bit. This could get a little dicey, but that will be fun.
Us get dicey?
Oh, but we like to get dicey. But
It's true.
Greg's like, boo. Is that a boo flag, Greg?
Yes, it was a boo face.
So the question is, and again, we may talk about this for a while, but it's what are some of your most defining personality traits? I can be very passionate and come across as kind of judgy sometimes. I try to be consciously aware of that and not do that. And to a lot of people, I don't think I do, but for some reason, in my close friends, I really do, much more so than in other groups. I'm not sure why I let that out among my close friends.
Care so much.
I honestly think that's what it is. I think because I have this really like hard coded. I mean, I guess passion again is like the nice word for it. Like I get spun up on things really quickly. You know, I don't like it when something that I perceive as being bad is happening, particularly to one of my friends or my family, and I immediately get like inside. I get all upset and I want to like
Help.
Yes, I want to help the situation, and sometimes the way I do that can come across as being very judgy. Like you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that, and I don't mean it to come across that way. But I so badly want to help the people in my life that the people that I'm the closest to, it just all flies out. You know, I get passionate and it just comes out. You know, whereas I think in other areas of my life, I'm a little more calm, a little more reserved, and so I'm able to talk with less judgment and more. Just sort of sensitivity and productivity and stuff like that, you know. So that is definitely a big defining part of my personality. Is I'm a very passionate person. I do get worked up about things, but I'm working on that and trying to channel it in ways that are good and not as harmful, which it can be sometimes. But I really try not to be that way.
I give Chris a hard time about it, but he and I have actually talked a lot at length about not only his desire but my own too. Sometimes, for really like helping people be the best that they can be.
Yeah, exactly.
And being in the best situation that they can be in for themselves, and how passionate and caring we are about it.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of my favorite personality traits about Chris, even though I give him a really hard time, because it's something that I identify with.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What would you would you say that you're what are some of your most defining personality traits?
we're answering this about ourselves because, like,
Well, I mean, we can put it to the group. I mean, what would people say about Sarah?
I'm self-degrading.
Don't put me on the spot like that.
There's a little bit of that in there. There's some of that in
I think
there.
talking
very
about
dynamic.
answering it about ourselves and then people feeding into the answer is probably the most comfortable way to do it. It's
I was just deflecting because, like, I like to deflect.
It's better than being
I think of
self-defecating.
you as being very exuberant.
I would definitely say that one of my defining characteristics is that even though I actually, believe it or not, really do enjoy moments that I get to myself where I get to recharge and be quiet. I can be quiet, I swear. And whatnot. I really enjoy making people laugh and being a beacon of light. It sounds so freaking cheesy. But I like being identified as the person that, like, really brings the joy to the room, or like
positive energy,
sparks a positive energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that sometimes I get a little fixated on things that are bothering me, and it can bring the mood down. But if there's nothing in my life if not passion. I have a lot of passion about a lot of things.
I see a trend here. At least with you and I, but I'm sure with everybody else as well. Kate's investment in the game is passion, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely love outwardly and try to live gregariously.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Yeah. Greg, how would you want to start with yourself and then have us kind of chime in?
I guess I would try to say about myself is that sometimes I could be a very selfless person to my own detriment.
Oh, yes.
Which, that is something I have to work on.
You think you get taken advantage of sometimes?
I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
And, if someone needs something, I will be more than happy to give it and do whatever I need to do in order to make sure that the person has what they need, or, is in a place that they find themselves to be good. Also, I try to be very thoughtful about things.
Yep.
And this comes from also going to school for counseling. I try to think to myself, is that the best way to say something? Is that the best way to react to something? and have that internal dialogue with myself before I say things.
A lot of self-reflection.
Yes, and also in that same venue, I would probably say that I do kind of, I guess you say, wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Very involved with things, and I feel things, and I think that's part of me being an empathetic person, and everything that someone else feels, I feel it, and that could be hard for me sometimes, especially if there's lots of anger over things, which, that's a hard emotion for
There
me.
are some times where Greg and I are both very empathic,
So is Kate.
and so is Kate. So there are times when we're all together that it can be a little bit electric.
Yeah.
Boogie, woogie, woogie, woogie.
He got me.
Yeah, I mean, if Greg is not in a good mood, you can read it all over.
Oh
him.
yes,
It's like this
We're
giant.
hiding
It's this
it.
giant
You can
sign.
feel it. You can feel
It's like
it.
this
Like,
neon sign
when
above his
he's
head.
Ooh.
It's a giant boo sign.
When he's not enjoying something, like a particular anime or something like that, he'll sit there and say, "Yeah, it's fine," but you can just tell. Just
It's
by
like that
looking at
meme with the dog. This is great. This is fine. Everything's fine.
I guess you could say I do kind of shut down sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like,
But
a little
if you're
bit,
an
a little
empathetic
bit.
person, that's kind of a protective response too,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah, that's, yep.
How about John?
John.
Once again, probably the polar opposite of a lot of y'all.
He said y'all. Just
y'all.
putting that out there.
Y'all.
yeah, he
There's-
sometimes
I've-
goes into southern drawl.
Yeah, my dad was from the South, and every now and then...
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, and every now and then a little bit of a Southern drawl slips in. Especially my characters. Almost all my NPCs, for some reason, have a Southern accent. Yeah, it's weird.
It's very funny for a player
It
in
is
his
funny
game.
if you're a player.
This NPC is from the South, and then this one's from the South, and then that one's from the South, and then this girl is also
Apparently
from
the
the South.
Ravens were from the South, and even Strahd was from the South every now
Dwarves
and
from the
then.
South, yeah.
You like John?
I'm a very live and let live type of person. For the most part, I assume people are capable of dealing with their own issues, give or take. And I like to try to be there should they need me. But I won't generally try to get in their face about it.
Yeah, I would say that you're analytical and you're practical about things. Those are some things I would use to describe you.
Okay, and I wouldn't disagree. I do try to look at things very dispassionately.
Pragmatically.
Pragmatically.
yeah,
that's a good
pragmatically.
word.
There you go. Yeah.
And which is probably why the characters I play tend to be very not.
Yeah.
Like I said, some people play a different version of themselves,
Foils. Yep.
and some people play the complete opposite of themselves. It's
Yeah,
pretty
I've never,
entertaining.
in real life, I've never seen you really get angry. I've never seen you yell, or I mean, if you are angry,
I've
it's
seen you
it's
get
not,
into heated
it's not
debate.
I've seen him
obvious.
drop an F-bomb once or twice when he got really frustrated with something tech-wise.
That's rare.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
about
I
it.
haven't
Yeah.
really seen that.
And that was shocking to
My
me.
my anger tends to be very dogged. I guess I don't tend to get start yelling and shouting.
Yeah.
I just get very stubborn.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I understand. I gotcha.
But I don't think anybody in our group has ever really given me cause to be angry. Because, like I said, I have a very lackadaisical attitude. Now, you've gotten me annoyed. Never really angry.
Sarah just raised her hand. That's what John's replying to.
I like to push John's buttons.
Trollolol.
Well, it's okay because I like to push everybody else's buttons.
Somebody has to troll the troll.
Yeah,
Give and
because
take.
one of the other things I like to do is try to get people to take things less seriously. If
Okay.
people can be, the way I figure it, if people can just relax and not get so bound up in their emotions that they can think through their issues, they're going to have less of them.
So-
they can work them out. So I generally just try to get people to relax and be less serious.
So John wants to be the coal ace of the group.
I guess so.
I wish listeners could see his face right now.
I got no clue.
Colace is like
Bowel
a bowel
movement.
softener.
What
So
an
you like to
interesting analogy.
unbind?
I see. Okay.
Oh no.
That one went right over my head.
No.
X-Lax.
X-Lax, okay.
Miralax.
Okay.
John is our Miralax.
I think I could benefit from that idea, John.
Yeah.
Not getting so bound up with all the emotion.
Just take a breath, relax. It's not as bad as you're thinking.
Yeah.
Make a joke about it, and then you can come at it with a better perspective.
Yeah, there have been a couple of times when I was really getting worked up on something, and something made me laugh, and it just took all the air right out of me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, now I'm not angry anymore because something made me laugh, which was great. I enjoyed the fact that I was actually brought down from laughter. Kate, I mean, you're obviously a very emotionally invested person.
I mean,
very strong emotions. From you.
I mean, there's that I'm going to answer second. I mean, I feel like there's two sides of it for me. From a rational side, like I am the thinker, the problem solver, the very
engineer.
very
Almost to a fault
detail oriented
sometimes.
person, and I always have been since I was very young, which
I
means
can
that
speak to that.
I like to look at things from every different possible angle. I am very, very thorough in my search for like what I see as like the best or optimal solution to a problem or a challenge, and that can be very good. It can help us in ways, but it can also be overdone. It can make it so I'm indecisive.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to every coin. So that then shifting to the emotional side, it's like I am a very empathetic person, and I think that's kind of part of what binds this particular group of friends together is we all have that to some extent in different
Except John.
ways. Even John underneath that,
John's a little more pragmatic, that's fine.
So I mean, when I was younger, taking that sensitivity, I was always the protector. I was always the group mom, even going back to grade school, right?
Yep.
So being a protector is probably a lot of what drove me to serve in the military. And then kind of in parallel with that, like dealing with emotions, to some extent, I walled stuff away, especially when I was serving. So now being out of the military and being back home, that's kind of dropped those walls, which is a bit of a challenge because then it is that same kind of emotional investment which can be taken too far and can tie one up in knots.
Sometimes.
But then it also helps, for a campaign or escapism like this to make it so things are more poignant, more meaningful as we build that story as a group through various campaigns. So yeah.
Does anybody have anything to add onto what Kate's saying?
I've always wondered, just because, I mean, you hear a lot about what it's like to be a woman in the Navy and or in the military in general, like how you feel that really shaped you in your formative 20s and who you are now.
I mean, definitely seeing all,
Why is everybody looking at me like that?
It's a good question, and to think on the answer. I mean, obviously,
I think sometimes.
You see a lot of the world, you see a lot of different cultures, so it's like, I can sometimes be a somewhat judgmental or controlling person, again, if I feel that something is wrong or being wronged and I want to try to help / fix it. But I think it also, seeing all these different walks of life and different perspectives, it kind of at least encourages me to try to take a step back at times and again, consider different perspectives and different views that can drive people into certain behaviors or certain places. Being the world traveler, my house is full of all kinds of crazy and cool things because I've picked up a lot of passions from, cool art and knickknacks and wine and, fancy food and stuff like that. Like that passion was there anyway, but it definitely grew even further through my travels. And then again, I think just emotionally, it did give me some tools to be able to step back from jobs where you have to be more rational, which, like, even in my current engineering work is very much the same. But then, the Navy, there's a lot of camaraderie as well. So I think, coming back from the military has been that challenge because corporate world doesn't usually fill that role. So finding that bond again with friends and kind of recalibrating how I do or don't wall my emotions away, especially with that group of friends. That's the thing I'm still working on at this point.
Finding
Yeah.
your safe
Yeah.
space.
I think
That's it. Well,
I think everyone has that level of trying to figure things out and trying to maybe partition themselves in a way.
Sure.
Because you act a certain way with your friends and those you were closest with, and you may act differently with, say, your coworkers who
Right.
are also friends.
yeah.
As far as Kate, I would probably refer to her as our devil's advocate for different campaigny
But
stuff.
what if?
Because she's
No, but what
always
if?
kind of looking
No,
at
but then what about this?
the other side of things, and I think that's
For
good.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because I would more along the lines of be emotional about it and go with my gut, whereas I wouldn't really think about things, and I would be more Greg Smash versus like the thoughtful artifice, I guess you would say. So it'd be like mess stuff up first and ask questions later, pretty much.
No, Darius was never like that.
Zealot.
Darius the Barbarian.
You know, I would really have to agree along that same vein with Greg. Like, I've known Kate since we were like 13 years old. So she's always been a very grounding force for me. I tend to be a very action now, think later. And having that yin to my yang through my formative years was really helpful. Kate's really taught me a lot about how to think things through before I get emotional.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Oh,
Sorry.
Sarah's flip side. That's okay. Love you too. To try to get me to come out of that space where I'm always locked into overthinking and be a little bit more spontaneous sometimes. So that's been cool to develop that over the years. Doll, something in my eyes.
Kate's also my wife, and therefore she's awesome.
Yeah, but you're required by law to say that.
Well,
There is a contract.
I got the better end of the deal for sure. She puts up with a lot of my crap.
Overstatement.
So, what is your favorite food and or dessert?
We all know yours.
What is it?
Chocolate lava cake.
Yeah.
Well, chocolate cake. Chocolate.
Chocolate. I would say chocolate.
Chocolate.
If you just generally want to say chocolate.
It's the only kind
Yeah.
of dessert you'll eat.
I mean, I think
Won't even try
it's true. It's
It
true.
can't be gourmet chocolate either.
No, it
has
can't be
to
gourmet
plain
chocolate.
Plain chocolate.
just plain regular
For the
old
listeners
like,
that
store-bought.
become our core fan group, send Chris lots of chocolate,
core fan.
but not gourmet chocolate.
but not gourmet chocolate. Nothing fancy.
No,
Duncan Hines
bars.
cake.
I like
Chocolate frosting.
chocolate cake with chocolate frosting, just regular old sugary frosting. I like chocolate fudge brownies. My favorite dessert is probably brownie sundae with vanilla ice cream,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, I do like the mix of chocolate and vanilla and a brownie sundae. But I like to have a nice thick heavy brownie in there.
You hear that?
I do.
He likes
Chocolate fudge
chocolate
brownie.
and vanilla.
Yes, Greg is chocolate. In case people don't know, and we are all crackers or vanilla, I should say.
I didn't say it.
You didn't? No.
No.
And I also like mashed potatoes with yellow cream style corn on top of the mashed potatoes. That's like my favorite food like ever.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
like half a shepherd's pie.
Kind of, yeah. It's two
Like shepherd's pie without the
two
meat.
parts of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just some mashed potatoes,
doesn't like the
some
meat.
butter,
Oh, he likes
and then
shepherd's
some
pie,
and then some
too.
yellow cream
Doesn't
corn.
like the, never mind.
Yes, I do like shepherd's pie.
Have you had any luck expanding his palate at all?
Kate's trying.
Marginal.
She's
He is a
trying.
very meat and potatoes palate from his upbringing. So for
Although
me
we have
being-
successfully hid some
yeah,
vegetables
the food
in his
adventure.
food.
Yeah, they're trying to
it's-
poison my food with green
As long as
things.
Trying to get
cut
him
'em
to eat
up fa-
vegetables.
small enough.
Yeah.
Sarah, what's your favorite food and or dessert?
Oh boy. I like to eat a lot. I would probably say that my favorite food is pizza.
Pizza. Okay.
Pizza I can go to any time of the day, any day of the week.
Chocolate lava cakes from Domino's.
They're pretty decent, but I would say my favorite dessert's probably cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
I like
Okay.
cheesecake a lot, especially New York style cheesecake. I'm a New
Cool.
Yorker. originally.
Were you born in New York?
I was born in New York.
Okay.
I've been here longer than I was there at this point in my life, but I'm definitely still like I want the kosher bagel from the deli and my coffee and a nice slice and some New York style cheesecake to end it all.
Cool. Greg, favorite food and or dessert?
Greg is such a foodie. This is going to be hard.
I know.
It's
man.
really difficult.
Here.
Greg and Kate are both foodies. Yeah.
Big time. Big time.
I would probably say, as far as dessert, I would probably say a plain Jane chocolate chip cookie. But
I do like those
made
too.
with dark chocolate chips and maybe something salty in there, like pretzels or something to kind of counteract all the sweetness.
But no walnuts.
But no walnuts, because I don't like nuts. And I would probably say, as far as food, I kind of have gotten used to being up here, like different types of cuisine. Like there's Thai food, which I love Thai cuisine. Indian food, which I love that too.
He likes it spicy.
Yeah, spicy
I've
enough
seen
to
Greg sweat from
He's our
spice.
spicy person.
burn my mouth off.
likes the burn.
I do. I would probably say that I would like a good kind of curry or some kind of like chicken dish from one of those cuisines. Which, if I had to pick an American kind of deal, then I would probably say shepherd's pie.
Cool.
Especially when Kate makes it.
It's pretty good.
Greg has made me want Indian food now.
What's your favorite food and or dessert, John?
Again, hard for me to say because I would probably say my favorite food is whichever one I'm eating at the time.
That's a good answer.
Classic answer.
Very existential. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Goes for his favorite woman, too.
whichever one I'm eating at the time.
Exactly.
Okay.
You just turn red.
I mean, I do like the spicy food. I love a good Indian curry. Oh, it's good stuff. Especially a lamb curry.
Okay.
Excellent stuff. But sometimes I don't want the spicy food. Obviously, everybody has their own. Has
You're in the mood for
moods.
something or
Yes.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about dessert?
Desserts. Probably almost any kind of like lemon dessert, like little lemon squares or little lemon puddings
No, I
and
want a
things like
lemon
that. Just
tartlet.
the little refreshing chasers after a good meal. I think is probably what I like
I
best.
would probably put some delicious faux soup on there too. Because
yeah.
having that for the first time up here.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you making us after we're done recording?
Seriously, I'm hungry now.
Right?
You good, John?
I'm good.
Okay.
Kate, food and or dessert?
So the food is a tough one because much like a couple of the others, I'm into a lot of different foods, a lot of different cultures. There's probably fewer foods that I don't like than foods that I love.
We're the plain Jane
So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, for American cuisine or just plain like comfort food, things like shepherd's pie would definitely be up on that list. I can appreciate a good mac and cheese depending on my mood, But then I probably do crave multicultural foods more than a lot of other people. So just like, good Chinese stir fry, the way that, Chinese or Japanese preparations of veggies can be really awesome compared to more American fare and just like noodle dishes, sushi, stuff like that. I enjoy a lot. And then the dessert one at least is easy. That's a no-brainer. I'm an ice cream girl. I have always been an ice cream girl since I was like a toddler. So yeah, good ice cream, whether it's from my favorite local places or homemade. That's definitely. Again, it really depends on my mood because I'm pretty adventurous. So I would like, citrus flavored things like lemons if I'm in the right mood in the summer, or a really good chocolate sorbet, anything with mint and chocolate, anything with coffee things in general. Maybe Kate likes coffee, and even to go more adventurous, like I appreciate different wines and craft beers, and sometimes ice cream makers do foray into using those in their ice cream, and that can be really cool.
Haagen-Dazs is making like these like alcohol-inspired pints right now, like chocolate stouts, and like, they're really good.
I mean, Bailey's, Hagen does it. The Bailey's ice cream, that's been a favorite for a long time. So, yeah, it's
We're
fun.
not sponsored by Haagen-Dazs.
Or Bailey's. Or Domino's.
Okay, so our last question for the Knights of Roleplay Roundtable is, if you could choose a superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, dear Lord.
Greg,
Oh boy.
what superpower would you choose and why?
I think I would probably go with reading minds. And I would say that because I'd like to know the truth about people. And I think a lot of things can be said coming from, like, today where you text someone versus not seeing them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to know someone's intention when they're talking with you, I think is something that's pretty powerful. So
That could be scary.
it could be, because you may not get something that you like, and that is something that would be hard to deal with.
So you're
But
saying you might not be able to handle the truth?
Boo.
Cricket.
yes, the chirping is going. But so yeah, it would be reading minds and wanting to know the truth and have that truth be apparent would be what I would be.
Okay. John?
It's actually a tough one for me. I mean, there's the vanilla ones, like, ability to fly. Who wouldn't want to be able to do that? But,
I wouldn't. I'm scared of heights.
I'm also afraid of heights.
You get over it.
That is exactly why I did not choose a vanilla one.
Really? Yeah, I mean, but...
Well,
No racist jokes. Although our podcast is rated as explicit.
It is.
it's true.
It's not wrong.
That's mostly because of me.
Come back to me. I got to think about this one.
Okay, Kate,
Okay.
superpower?
So to stay basic, I mean, I've always had dreams about having the ability to fly. So that's definitely one of them that I just think it would be exhilarating and cool. And then probably right up there with it would be telekinesis. Telekinesis, can't pronounce it, sorry.
Kate says a lot of words in very interesting ways.
Just that idea to be able to, it's a power of convenience. I want something, I can bring it to me. It's a power of protection. Something's coming at me, I could stop it. Like, I think that would be really cool.
Okay.
So basically the Force, but,
Sarah?
It is with you.
right? Always.
And also with you.
What do you think, Sarah?
Oh. I think this is a tough one because it's so easy to like fall into a cliche, but I don't want to fall into a cliche. But I also am very cliche.
Yeah.
No, I think I would probably go for like the ultrasonic hearing.
Okay.
I by nature am a very like anxiety / paranoid person. So I think the ability to kind of on the same vein of Greg, know the truth of things. Like, I'm naturally very paranoid about my self-worth and my consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see people whisper in a restaurant, like, my immediate reaction is like, oh my God, they're talking about me. So if I had that ability to, like, prove myself right or wrong and have a definitive meaning, I think it would take a lot of anxiety out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also love to know if something was coming that was going to hurt me or help me. So yeah, I'll go with ultrasonic hearing.
Okay. John, do you want me to go, or do you want to?
No, actually, thought about it. Probably would something along the lines of shape-shifting.
Oh,
I kind of like the idea
That is
of
very
the
John.
that is very John.
the adaptability of
Yeah.
it. I think would really appeal to me.
So you would be like Mystique, and you would change into different people, and
Well, maybe not even just limited to people. Why
Monsters,
is we're talking
creatures.
hypotheticals here?
Yeah.
You know,
John is our chaos factor.
I would hope he would be not.
you could be like
naked,
birds. You could fly
so-
around as birds, or you could go swim in the ocean as a shark or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whole bunch of different superpowers in
It's
one.
pretty cool.
It kind of, just
Shape of
form of
Eagle.
a bucket of water.
They used to have an awful show about that called Manimal back in the 80s.
yeah.
I do vaguely remember Manimal.
I never heard of that. It must have been before my time.
There was lots
You're
of
too young.
there were lots of terrible
If it
shows.
was
the one with
early
the guy-
80s, we missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the guy that could either turn into a hawk or a panther or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, that. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to be a
vague
Thundercat.
memories of that.
Oh,
I'd take that.
What'd you call me?
What did you
I said, oh.
Yeah, pretty much.
What about you, Chris?
I think that I would like immortality in the form of not just the never aging, never getting older, but like the sort of indestructibility, where like I couldn't be killed. There's nothing you can do to kill me, and I
Like
would.
you'd reincarnate,
And
or
no, like you couldn't kill me. Like you just couldn't kill me at all. There's no way you could actually, shoot me in the head. I'd be fine. Cut my head off and put it back on. Maybe like if my head gets cut off, it grows back or something like that. Like something where like you can't physically hurt me. You can't cause me to die. And
want to be a starfish?
and I would live forever.
That would be-
Probably at like maybe age 30 maybe, and just like stay at that biological age like forever, and just nobody can kill me. I don't get any older.
That would be a lot of fun until the sun engulfs the earth.
Or if you have people in your life, the people grow old and,
Why does everybody give me crap about my choice?
it's just a consequence of that.
No, but it's.
Hey man,
it's also
I
cool.
watched the Highlander TV show. I watched Forever Night.
Yeah.
I understand people growing old and dying, all that kind of thing. But I also think about in 100 years, how good would I be at martial arts?
This is true.
How good would I be at that? How much like the things about my personality that I'm trying to work on, that I would like to change for the better. Like what kind of person would I be in 100, 200 years?
With all those lifetime experiences.
Yeah, because I think about just the things that I've learned in the life I've lived so far, and I think it took me like that long just to learn like this one thing, and I'm like, my God, what happened if I was like 300 or 400 years old? Like how much further along would I be? And I kind of feel like the time that we have here is so short. And I mean, I'm not saying you can't grow and learn a lot of things, but I'm saying that when you compare that to like 400 or 500 years, to me
it's
that is exponentially
for Chris's
more.
sense of completionism, which Chris is a completionist.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't grow. I mean, I've grown a lot, but again, like I'd look at certain things and I'm like, it took me like, so many decades to get to the point where I realized this, and I would have liked to have learned that like 10 or 20 years before that, and so being able to live forever and see how the world changes and see how I change as a person, and see how good I can get at certain things and all the things that I can learn, because the world is so big. There's so much that I haven't experienced or learned yet, and I'd like to have all that time. And then again, just knowing that if for some reason I fall off a bridge or a bus hit me, I could get up and walk away. It would be pretty cool.
I mean, I was giving you grief about it, but really, I've kind of had the same thoughts along the same line. Technology has always kind of fascinated me too, and I keep seeing all these new cool discoveries people keep coming out with, and I'm just like,
it's like I'm going to be dead by the time that comes out.
I know. I just I would just really like to see where this is going.
Yeah.
And what comes next. So.
Well, maybe they might be able to clone you at some point.
Yeah, but then would that really be you?
I don't think so. I don't think cloning. I don't think if somebody cloned you, I don't think that clone would be you.
Yeah, no.
It would not be the John that I knew.
But
It's the Star Trek transporter syndrome.
I understand. I understand.
Devil's advocate on that point, though,
Okay.
is that like if you lived forever and you saw all of history, would you ever be part of history?
I'm not sure that people necessarily have a sense that they would be in their 80 or 90 or 100 years on the planet, though.
I guess my ultimate goal is to somehow be remembered in this world. And if I never leave this world, the world can't necessarily remember me. I mean, I have a walking theory in life that we come across the people that we meet, whether it be for 5 seconds on the sidewalk or the people that you've known for 28 years. And they're meant to be in your life for that moment and influence you and develop you as a person. And they take you on the journey to the ultimate place where you've developed and then you leave your mark, and you move forward to wherever it is in the afterlife.
Sure, but think about it this way, though. Let's say that you could reinvent yourself like every 100 years, and you basically, decide to be like some kind of a scientist or something, and you leave some kind of a huge mark on the world as the scientist, and then you basically, do your death thing, and you basically, get new records, and you become this other person.
Chris has thought about this,
and then you become like,
Apparently.
and then you become like some kind of like, a president or a politician, and you leave a mark that way. And basically you have all these lives where you can look through history and be like, yes, that was me. That was also me. That was me. I had a huge impact on the world and all these different lifetimes that I lived.
I think I'd personally feel more fulfilled if I became the one person that I was really meant to be.
To each his or her own.
I don't think that would exclude that possibility.
My philosophy is more. I read up on chaos theory.
Really?
There is actually a theory called chaos theory.
No way.
It's basically,
It's true.
yeah. The high level overview is how small changes at the beginning have huge consequences down the line. But there's also a part of it of how different, how in chaotic systems, how different things interact becomes so unpredictable and yet almost deterministic in a way. So if whether you live a single life or 100 lives, your interactions are just as meaningful because there's just no way to trace how your interactions of just bumping into somebody on the street could have affected their entire life.
Right.
And how just being in one place versus another place, how does that change the course of human history? There's just no way to know, and yet it does.
I would argue, though, if Chris wants to live forever and learn forever, and you keep those same memories, are you ever really changing who you are?
Absolutely, you are. 100%.
But if you're always influenced by your first life, I mean, you're growing, but you're not necessarily changing.
I understand what you're trying to say.
I think that you would, though.
It's like, I mean, if you live for that long, you are still going to be
I would
you.
be bored as hell, personally.
Yeah,
Putting it out there.
I mean, you're never not going to be you. But who that you is, air quotes, you, does constantly change. You are not the you were a year ago or 10 years ago, but you're still you.
Maybe it's just because I have a tendency to be like driven by the as the kids call it now, the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like if I lived forever and I knew that I had I could get to that tomorrow. Like I would procrastinate until like 500 years have gone by, and I'd be like, I should maybe read that textbook now. Like
that's now out of date.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah, we got really philosophical here a little bit.
Deep conversations.
It's kind of like what Sarah was saying, that I do believe that whatever power, whether you believe in a higher power or not, sometimes brings people into your life that are needed in your life at that particular time in that particular moment. You know, the path that I got from where I was to where I'm at now, I've met many different people and have had many different experiences, but, you know, I believe that, you know, for me to have met someone again that I, you know, kind of met briefly at a, you know, summer camp was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That person is an adult, and that was like 19 years ago. So, you know, the world is mysterious and and, you know, chaotic and great. And, you know, there obviously is some grand design behind how everything works. And, you know, people are put into your life for a reason. And what those reasons are, who knows? But it's always
Cherish
great.
the people that you have.
Cherish the people that you have.
For sure.
Long story short.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
So that's all of our questions.
That we planned.
that we planned. Yep. And since we've been going for a couple of hours, I say that's probably pretty good. Does anybody have anything that you want to add
get on with it.
before we sign off? No.
I think so.
I mean, we hope everybody.
Kate's wearing an awesome Dungeons and Cats shirt.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, Hubby gave it to me.
Yeah, we hope
Nerdy.
everybody enjoyed listening to us in this round table. And we
Wax philosophical.
Yep. Talk about ourselves. And we have regular D&D episodes that are coming out. And we hope you all enjoyed everything. John, do you have something you want to say?
No, not particularly. Just want to say we'll see you at the game.
All right, cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Huzzah!
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye, awesome nerds.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review anywhere this podcast can be found. Please tell your friends about Knights of Roleplay and spread the word through social media. We can be found on Twitter at Knights of RP and on Facebook and Instagram at Knights of Roleplay and on our website at knightsofroleplay.com. Your help and support are greatly appreciated.